In 1880, the average Wild West home had exactly 0 electrical outlets, no running water, and walls so thin you could hear your neighbor sneeze 3 houses away. But here's what Hollywood never shows you. These frontier homes had features so bizarre, so ingeniously weird, and so downright shocking that modern architects would think they were pranks. We're talking about secret rooms designed for Indian raids, toilets that could double as weapons, and kitchens that were basically controlled explosions waiting to happen. Some of these home features were pure genius. Others were disasters disguised as convenience. Today, we're walking through 25 of the strangest, most forgotten home features from Wild West America. Features so wild that building codes would arrest you just for thinking about them today. Trust me, by the end of this tour, you'll realize that surviving frontier life wasn't just about avoiding gunfights. It was about not getting killed by your own house. Let's step inside the most dangerous homes in American history. 1. The Cellar Panic Room. Every frontier home had what looked like an innocent root cellar in the backyard. Stone steps leading down, wooden doors, shelves lined with preserves. But here's the twisted reality. Most of these weren't just for food storage. They were designed as family bunkers for Indian raids, outlaw attacks, and God knows what else the frontier threw at you. The Henderson family outside Abilene built theirs in 1878 with 3-foot-thick stone walls, a hidden air vent disguised as a drainage pipe, and enough space for 7 people to hide for 3 days. The entrance was covered with a fake wood pile that looked natural but could be moved in under 30 seconds. But here's the detail that shows how desperate frontier life was. These cellars had small holes drilled at eye level, just big enough to stick a rifle barrel through. Families would huddle underground, listening to raiders tear apart their home above, waiting for the perfect moment to start shooting through the floor. And the really twisted part? Kids were trained from age 5 to sprint to these cellars at the first sign of trouble. No crying, no questions, just run and hide until Dad gave the all clear. 2. The Outhouse Arsenal. You think the outhouse was just for bathroom business? Think again. Frontier families turned their privies into the most unexpected defensive positions on their property. The walls weren't just for privacy, they were gun ports. Small holes disguised as ventilation were actually shooting positions. If outlaws surrounded your house, you could slip out the back, circle around, and start picking them off from the last place they'd expect return fire. Charlie Morrison, a rancher near Dodge City, kept a Winchester rifle, 2 Colt revolvers, and 50 rounds of ammunition hidden under the outhouse floor. His reasoning: if I'm gonna die with my pants down, I'm taking some of them with me. But here's what made it genius. The outhouse was always the farthest building from the main house, giving you a clear view of anyone approaching. Plus, outlaws rarely bothered searching the toilet. It was the perfect combination of disgusting and defensive, and yes, the smell probably helped. Nothing says stay away like a fully loaded privy in July. 3. The Indian Trading Window. Most frontier homes had what looked like a normal window on the side of the house, but look closer and you'd notice something strange. Thick iron bars, a small shelf built into the sill, and a wooden slot just big enough to pass items through. This was the Indian Trading Window, and it served a purpose that was part commerce, part diplomacy, and part survival strategy. When Native Americans approached for trade, which happened more often than Hollywood suggests, families could conduct business without opening their doors or leaving themselves vulnerable. Flour, coffee, and tobacco went out through the slot. Furs, jewelry, and sometimes information came back. Martha Stevenson, a homesteader near San Antonio, conducted thousands of dollars worth of trade through her window between 1881 and 1889. She learned enough Apache to negotiate prices and even received warnings about hostile bands moving through the area. But here's the part that shows how complex frontier relationships really were. These windows often became informal communication centers. Native Americans would leave messages, draw maps in the dirt, or signal safe passage routes. It wasn't always about conflict. Sometimes it was about survival cooperation. 4. The Rifle Rest Windowsill. Look at any authentic frontier home photo, and you'll notice something odd about the windows. The sills are unusually wide and carved with specific grooves. These weren't decorative, they were rifle rests, designed to turn every window into a sniper position. The grooves were carved to fit specific rifle barrels, usually a Winchester 1873 or a Springfield trapdoor rifle. A man could prop his weapon, sight down the barrel, and have a steady shot at anything approaching the house from 200 yards away. But here's what made these features truly sinister. They were angled downward slightly, perfect for shooting at people on horseback or anyone trying to crawl up to the house. Frontier families weren't just defending their homes, they were turning them into military fortifications. The most elaborate example was the Garrett homestead near El Paso, where every window in the house had custom rifle rests carved for different family members. Even 12-year-old Billy Garrett had his own groove, sized for a youth rifle. 5. The false floor cache. Beneath the floorboards of almost every frontier home was a secret that could mean the difference between life and death. Hidden caches built into false floors. These weren't just hiding spots for valuables. They were survival bunkers stocked with emergency supplies that could keep a family alive for weeks. The typical cache contained ammunition, preserved food, medical supplies, spare clothing, and enough water for 3 days. But the really smart families also hid spare weapons, gold coins, and even fake identification papers in case they needed to flee and start over somewhere else. Sarah McKinney, a widow running a ranch near Fort Worth, had 7 different caches hidden throughout her house. Under the kitchen floorboards, food and medicine. Under the bedroom, weapons and ammunition. Under the parlor, gold and jewelry that could buy safe passage if everything went wrong. But here's the detail that shows how paranoid frontier life made people. These caches were designed to be accessed in complete darkness. Every family member knew exactly how many steps to take, which boards to lift, and how to reseal everything without leaving evidence. Because if outlaws found your cache, they'd know you had more hidden somewhere else. 6. The chimney shooting platform. That innocent-looking brick chimney wasn't just for smoke. Most frontier chimneys were built with hidden features that turned them into medieval castle towers. Inside the chimney, accessible through the fireplace, were iron rungs leading up to a small platform just below the roofline. From there, a defender could see for miles in every direction and rain down rifle fire on anyone approaching the property. The platform was usually just big enough for one person, with small holes in the chimney walls for rifle barrels. Some even had hooks for hanging ammunition pouches and water containers. But here's the most terrifying part. Families would build signal fires to warn neighbors of approaching danger. A column of white smoke meant traitors approaching. Black smoke meant hostiles. And if you saw someone frantically climbing up their chimney with a rifle, you knew it was time to grab your family and run. The most elaborate chimney fort was built by the Thompson family near Amarillo. Their chimney had 3 different shooting platforms, a rope ladder for quick escape to the roof, and a hidden cache of emergency supplies halfway up the shaft. 7. The trapdoor kitchen. Most frontier kitchens had a feature that would violate about 50 modern building codes, a trapdoor in the floor leading directly to the root cellar or basement. But this wasn't just for convenience. It was an escape route designed for the most vulnerable room in the house. Kitchens were where families spent most of their time, where the fire created light visible from miles away, and where the smells of cooking could attract unwanted visitors. The trapdoor meant that at the first sign of trouble, everyone could disappear through the floor in seconds. The doors were usually hidden under removable floorboards, or concealed beneath a heavy table that could be moved by one person. Some even had counterweights that would slam the door shut automatically once everyone was through. But here's what made these features truly frontier genius. They opened into tunnels that connected to other buildings on the property. You could go from kitchen to barn to outhouse to neighbor's house without ever being exposed to gunfire. 8. The window weight weapons. Every frontier home had sash windows with counterweight systems to help them open and close. But frontier families turned these innocent window weights into the ultimate home defense system. The weights weren't just chunks of metal. They were carefully shaped to double as weapons. Some were carved with sharp edges to become clubs. Others had chains attached to turn them into medieval flails. But the really clever families replaced the standard weights with actual weapons. Thomas Morrison, a homesteader near Kansas City, had loaded revolvers attached to his window counterweights. Pull the wrong window, and you'd be staring down the barrel of a Colt 45. The system was simple but terrifying. If outlaws broke through a window, the homeowner could release the counterweight and watch a 20-pound iron weapon come crashing down on the intruder's head. 9. The double-wall secret room. Many frontier homes appeared to be simple one-room structures from the outside, but inside, families had built something that would make modern contractors weep. Double walls with hidden rooms between them. These secret spaces were typically 3 feet wide and ran the entire length of the house. Access was through hidden panels disguised as part of the wall decoration or furniture. The space was used for everything from hiding valuables to storing weapons to concealing family members during raids. Some families even built miniature living quarters complete with bedding, food, and chamber pots. But here's the most incredible part. These hidden rooms often had their own ventilation systems, and even small windows concealed on the exterior of the house. From outside, you'd never know there was an entire second living space inside the walls. The Reynolds family near Denver built a hidden room so elaborate, It had its own fireplace with a chimney that connected to the main house chimney, making it impossible to detect from outside. 10. The suicide porch. Most frontier homes had front porches, but if you looked carefully, you'd notice something disturbing about their construction. They were designed to collapse. This wasn't shoddy workmanship. It was intentional. The porch was held up by supports that could be quickly removed or destroyed, dropping the entire structure and anyone standing on it. The idea was simple but brutal. If outlaws gathered on your porch, preparing to break down the door, you could literally drop them into a pit. Some families dug holes beneath their porches and filled them with sharpened stakes, but the really twisted families took it further. The Johnson homestead near Tombstone had a porch rigged with dynamite. Pull one wire, and the entire front of the house would explode outward. Here's the thing that shows how desperate frontier defense had become. Families practiced this. Kids were trained to run to specific positions. Adults knew exactly which supports to remove, and everyone understood that destroying your own porch might be the difference between life and death. Before we continue with these shocking home features, if you're fascinated by the forgotten realities of frontier life, smash that like button to help us uncover more hidden history, and subscribe with notifications on because we're exposing the wild truth about America's past every single week. Trust me, the next features we're about to reveal will completely change how you think about frontier ingenuity. 11. The weaponized well. Every frontier home needed water, but frontier families turned their wells into defensive weapons that could eliminate entire gangs of outlaws. The well wasn't just a hole in the ground with a bucket. It was a carefully engineered death trap disguised as a necessity. Most wells had false bottoms, hidden chambers about 10 feet down that could be accessed through concealed handholds in the stone walls. Families would store weapons, ammunition, and emergency supplies in these underwater bunkers. But here's where it gets truly sinister. The well cover could be rigged to collapse, dropping anyone standing on it 30 feet down into the water. And if you survived the fall, you discover that the well walls were lined with iron spikes designed to make climbing out impossible. The most elaborate well trap was built by the Patterson family near Abilene. Their well had 3 different levels of hidden chambers, a secret tunnel connecting to the house, and a rope system that could flood the entire area around the well in seconds. If outlaws tried to poison their water supply, they'd get a very unpleasant surprise. 12. The collapsible staircase. 2-story frontier homes had a feature that modern fire marshals would ban immediately: staircases designed to be destroyed at a moment's notice. The stairs weren't permanently attached to the house. They were held in place by removable pins and supports that could be pulled out in seconds, dropping the entire staircase and sealing off the second floor. This turned the upper level into an impregnable fortress. Outlaws might control the ground floor, but they'd have no way to reach the family members hiding above. But frontier families took this concept even further. Many staircases were built with hidden compartments in each step, creating a storage system for weapons and supplies. Pull the pins, and not only did you eliminate access to the second floor, you also dropped an arsenal of weapons at your feet. The Henderson family near Dallas had a staircase so elaborate it could be reassembled from above using a pulley system, allowing them to create a bridge to the second floor windows for escape. 13. The floor furnace trap. Most frontier homes heated with wood-burning stoves or fireplaces, but some had a feature that was part heating system, part medieval torture device. Floor furnaces with removable grates. The furnace was built into the floor with a heavy iron grate covering the opening. Remove the grate, and you had a 6-foot-deep pit filled with red-hot coals and flames. Families would position these furnaces near the front door or in hallways where intruders would be likely to walk. In the darkness, a person could easily step into what looked like a solid floor and plunge into a furnace. But here's the detail that shows how calculated frontier defense had become. These grates were designed with quick-release mechanisms that could be operated from across the room. Pull a hidden rope, and the floor would literally open up beneath an intruder's feet. 14. The bulletproof Bible corner. In almost every frontier home, you'd find a corner of the main room where the family Bible was displayed on a special stand. But this wasn't just religious decoration, it was armor. The Bible stand was actually a shield made from multiple layers of wood, metal, and sometimes even stone. The Bible itself was often hollowed out to hold a derringer or small pistol, but the really clever part was the positioning. The Bible corner was always in the line of sight from the main entrance, giving the family patriarch a perfect shooting position while appearing to be simply reading scripture. Some families went even further, building the entire corner as a reinforced bunker with gun ports hidden behind religious decorations. You could pray and prepare for battle at the same time. 15. The chamber pot bomb. Every frontier home had chamber pots for nighttime bathroom needs. But frontier families discovered that these innocent ceramic containers could be turned into devastating weapons. The pot would be filled with a mixture of gunpowder, nails, broken glass, and anything else that could cause damage. A simple fuse would turn it into a hand grenade that could be thrown from windows or dropped through the floor. But here's the twisted genius of this weapon. Outlaws would never suspect a chamber pot. They might grab it looking for valuables and get a very explosive surprise. The most elaborate chamber pot bomb was created by a widow near Tombstone, who rigged 6 different pots throughout her house. Each one had a different trigger mechanism, and she could detonate them all with a single pull of a hidden rope. 16. The escape tunnel bed. Most frontier homes had beds built against the wall, but if you looked underneath, you might discover the ultimate escape route, tunnels that led directly from the bedroom to safety outside the house. The bed was built on a platform with a hidden trapdoor underneath. Families could literally roll out of bed and disappear through the floor, emerging hundreds of yards away from the house. These tunnels were engineering marvels, with proper ventilation, structural supports, and multiple exit points, some connected to neighbors' houses, barns, or natural caves. But here's what made them truly frontier brilliant. They were designed to be collapsed behind you. Once the family escaped, they could trigger a cave-in that would make pursuit impossible. 17. The kitchen knife launcher. Frontier kitchens weren't just for cooking, they were weapons factories. The knife rack wasn't just storage, it was a launching system that could turn kitchen utensils into projectiles. The rack was built with spring mechanisms that could fire knives across the room with deadly accuracy. A hidden trigger could launch the entire contents of the rack in a matter of seconds. But the really clever families went further. They replaced regular kitchen knives with specially designed throwing knives, turning their cooking area into an artillery position. 18. The poisoned doorknob. Some frontier families took home defense to a chemical level. Doorknobs and handles coated with substances that would incapacitate or kill anyone who touched them. The poison was usually derived from local plants or compounds that could be easily made at home. A light coating on metal surfaces would transfer to skin on contact. But here's the twisted part. Families had to remember which surfaces were poisoned. They developed elaborate systems of markings and cleaning routines to avoid poisoning themselves. 19. The collapsing roof defense. Some frontier homes had roofs designed to be partially collapsed on command, creating confusion and blocking escape routes for intruders inside the house. The roof sections were held up by removable supports that could be pulled from outside the house. Drop the roof, and anyone inside would be trapped under debris while the family escaped through pre-planned routes. 20. The false wall gun safe. What looked like a solid interior wall was actually a massive gun safe hidden in plain sight. The entire wall would swing open to reveal an arsenal that could arm a small militia. These walls were perfectly disguised with wallpaper, furniture, and decorations. Some even had fake windows or doors painted on them to maintain the illusion. 21. The electrified fence. Pre-electricity. Before electrical fences existed, frontier families created their own versions using mechanical systems that could deliver painful shocks to anyone touching the property perimeter. These systems used springs, weights, and lever mechanisms to create sudden, violent movements that would injure or deter intruders. 22. The swinging beam trap. Many frontier homes had heavy wooden beams that could swing down from the ceiling to crush intruders. These were activated by tripwires or manual releases. The beams were often disguised as structural supports, making them completely invisible until they suddenly swung into action. 23. The quicksand floor. Some homes were built over areas of loose soil that could be flooded to create quicksand-like conditions around the house perimeter. This would trap horses and slow down attackers. 24. The mirror communication system. Frontier homes used carefully positioned mirrors to create communication systems with neighbors, reflecting sunlight in coded patterns to send messages across vast distances. 25. The decoy house. The ultimate frontier home defense was building a completely fake house nearby, a decoy that would attract raiders while the real family hid in the actual reinforced home. These decoy houses were filled with worthless items made to look valuable, ensuring that raiders would waste time looting the wrong building. So there you have it. 25 home features so strange, so dangerous, and so ingeniously desperate that they could only have existed on the American frontier. These weren't just houses. They were fortresses disguised as homes, weapons disguised as furniture, and escape routes disguised as everyday conveniences. The Wild West wasn't won by gunfighters in the street. It was won by families who turned their homes into medieval castles and survived by being more creative, more paranoid, and more dangerous than anyone trying to hurt them. What surprised you most about these frontier home features? Which one would you want in your house today? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden world of frontier architecture, subscribe for more videos that reveal the shocking truth about American history, because the real Wild West was far stranger than any movie ever dared to show. Next week, we're exploring the most dangerous jobs in 1880s America, and trust me, some of these occupations had death rates that would make modern safety inspectors quit on the spot.